My relationship with my brother made me to start developing certain mindsets. I think unknowingly I had a particular mindset about men. I felt they were domineering and that wasn't okay at all in my mind. Both male and female are equal and have the same right. Abi? That was how I started developing mindset of wearing right and wearing godly. I had the mindset of rather than marry a man and be controlled by a man, I decided I wasn't going to get married. I didn't mind the idea of having children. The mindset was I was just going to have this particular person that I'll make the father of my child or my children and plan to take care of my children by giving them all they needed. And because of that, I was going to work very hard to have a lot of money. After when I made up my mind, okay, I was going to marry, I was going to fight my husband. Like, you won't tell me what to do. I was going to fight. So I am Ediomi by name, formerly known as Ediomi Franco. Now I'm going to say my reason for mentioning my maiden name in my subsequent testimonies. I am the second child and the first daughter out of a family of 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. My parents were married for 10 years without any child until they had my elder brother. From the stories I heard, my father thought my elder brother was going to be a girl, but he wasn't. 3 years later, a daughter was born, which happens to be me. And this time, my dad expected a boy based on all the prophetic words, dreams, and visions that were seen prior to my birth. Being in the apostolic church, my dad believed that it was only a male child that could fulfill all the strong words that were given about how the child would be greatly used by God, one who will be prophetic, and so many things. It happened so that I was even born in the church building on a Friday when my mom went for a prayer band meeting. So this made them believe more that God has chosen me to be the things he had spoken about me. My moms would say, oh, God has finally given me a prayer partner. My mom used to pray a lot and she felt, well, you know women when they have a lot of problems and God uses that to push them to pray. But she said she used to feel all alone and didn't have a prayer partner. Now I don't know why she expected I would grow up to be a prayer partner, but that was her belief. So I grew into nursing hatred for my brother because I thought he was loved more, even though my father loved me more, but I didn't realize it. So it made me dislike him. I was always fighting and challenging him. I even swore I was going to kill him. All this because I felt he was not superior to me because he was just a boy. Those words haunted me for years, so much that even after I got married, I would have dreams of killing my elder brother. I hated him so much, like physically. I don't just know why. I hated my brother. And all this hatred somehow I didn't know was there. Because you know how the devil will tell you lies of, this is the person you hate so much, but this is also the person you seem to love so much. I don't just know how that works, but that was what was happening with me. I would even tell people he was my best sibling. My relationship with my brother made me to start developing certain mindsets. I think unknowingly I had a particular mindset about men. I felt they were domineering and that wasn't okay at all in my mind. Both male and female are equal and have the same right. Abi? So that was how I started developing mindset of wearing right and wearing godly. Rather than marry him, I had the mindset of rather than marry a man and be controlled by a man, I decided I wasn't going to get married. I thought that if I really wanted to have children, because I love children from a very tender age, I could remember back then I'll follow. If I hear you have a child, I'll tell my mom I'm packing my bag and I'm following you, whether I know you or not. From the age of 3, 4, I just want to be where a child was. So I didn't mind the idea of having children. The mindset was I was just going to have this particular person that I'll make the father of my child or my children and plan to take care of my children by giving them all they needed. And because of that, I was going to work very hard to have a lot of money. So in between all these, I would admire guys, but only dark-looking guys that were tall and hairy. All these looks, I think, I developed from admiring my two brothers, especially my elder brother that I seem to hate. Because he was tall, he's tall, very tall, dark, and hairy. So I still remember that we always fought, regardless of how I admired him. So in between, I got confused. I would ask, what do I really want? Because I don't understand how you be admiring something and at the same time you want to kill the same thing. I didn't really understand at all. I didn't get involved in relationship with the opposite sex as a young girl because I thought, well, they'll just use you, probably get you pregnant, or break your heart and abandon you. Or they'll just want to control you, so why get involved with them? So I developed the mindset of I have to be on my own and be very independent. So that made me stay away from guys. Remember, it wasn't because of the God that I knew about or the things my parents taught me. It was basically my pride and somewhat the feminist mindset that kept me from dating. So fast forward to my year 1 in the university, I got close to a male friend and realized, oh, wow, this is beyond the normal relationship we are dating. So I thought, okay, well, he's not so bad. Moreover, he meets my standard physically and was caring and not so controlling. So, I could push him around and make him do what I wanted. We dated for just 1 year between 2004 and 2005. Somehow, that was when I started developing a strong desire to know God deeper. Note that I was born into a Christian family with a father who was a pastor and a mother who loves God and all that. But I was so used to church activities that it didn't just make sense to me at some point. I saw the hypocrisy, the fact that my father was always busy in church and church members and didn't have time for us and didn't even follow up on our spiritual growth. He would rather give us gifts, especially me, and such. And this used to make me feel like I didn't appreciate his gifts because I felt it's your duty to do it. So I didn't ask for it. You gave it to me. And that used to make me to be very careless with my things. Like, if it spoils, I just know my father will replace it. Note, I was the only girl for a while. So, like I said, I knew my father loved me, but at the same time, my father hated me. So, the devil was really telling me a lot of lies. So because of that, I saw my elder brother living a double life, and I was living in lies, stealing, and had desires that I knew weren't right, but no one sat me down to talk to me. It made me dislike my parents, especially my dad, more. I had gotten born again at different times and would fall back to lies, stealing, wrong mindset, unforgiveness, bitterness, and what have you. So having the opportunity to be close to God in 2005 was an opportunity I didn't want to miss. But I was greedy and discontented, so I didn't stay on the track of following God wholeheartedly. I would be close to the opposite sex even when I knew it wasn't okay. I kept telling myself, after all, I'm not dating them. And I wasn't having sex with them. But we would discuss things that weren't godly, sit out, play, dance, to all sorts of music. And wow, I really loved dancing back then to any kind of music. Now, Shakira was one of my favorites. I would sit down, play her music, practice every dance step, and make sure I get every one of it. Funny enough, I won't do it in front of people because, in quotes, I'm that Christian girl. I'll watch when all my roommates have left the room, then I'll go and practice it alone and make sure I'm dancing it according to the steps that was on the video. Okay, so like I said, I like dancing because it was the only thing that made me feel among my bad friends. Like, that was the only thing I could relate with them with. I won't go to clubs with them. I had friends who used to go to club. I won't go to club with them. I won't do things. One day I actually planned to go to the club, God used my younger brother. He was staying in the hostel. I was staying in the hostel. And he just came and told me through the window. He said, where are you going to? I said, nowhere. Already I was planning to go somewhere. And he said, I don't think you should go anywhere today. Did I tell you I'm going anywhere? He said, no. But I don't think you should go anywhere today. So that made me stay back. I didn't follow them. So God delivered me from going to the club. So, I just felt the only way I could keep track with my friends was dancing. So I continued dancing. When there's a godly music, I'll dance to it. And now, you cannot claim to be a Christian and keep ungodly friends around you. That was what really stopped me from growing rapidly. In all of this, I knew somehow that if God comes, I'll be among those going to heaven. Because I felt I wasn't committing fornication. I wasn't dating. Those things were just the thing I felt was sin to me. I was deceived by this and lived a double life. I would read my Bible in chunks and still lived like I didn't owe anyone any responsibility of accountability. I hated being accountable for any reason. I always wanted to have my way. I wasn't certain about anything in my life. I had shared about how I wrote JAM twice, and back then, one had the choice of filling 2 courses in one JAM form. So I wrote 6 different courses 3 times. In the 3 times I wrote JAM, ranging from medicine to microbiology to geology to petroleum engineering, even geology. Like, I was just confused. Funny enough, I didn't get admission into any of that. That's another story for another day. But in all of this, today I am where God wants me to be, even when I try to run away from it. At this point, in the midst of my confusion, I met my husband, Pastor Italdo, but I saw him as a big older brother in our former church, one who loves God and was too adamant about wanting to make people know God by force. So this made me want to run away from him, but somehow I realized there was something about him that made me get drawn more to God. So in as much as I didn't want to be controlled, I wanted to be closer to God, so I was fine with him whenever he came around. But then when I started feeling, oh dear, this my spiritual uncle may likely become my husband. Oh, I didn't like speaking with him much. I would try to avoid him or his calls or tell him when I'll be free in the hostel or for him to visit. Why should a fair, not too tall, now remember I had the mindset of very tall and dark, too spiritual and controlling man be my husband? I had to find a way to run for my life. But then God had a better plan and would still go. So I'll still go to him for advice, and even spoke to him about the previous relationship I had and how I wasn't comfortable anymore. This was because I felt it wasn't pleasing to God, but I liked the guy. More so, we weren't doing anything wrong, remember? In my own definition, though we would kiss and sit out and just do things that weren't okay. What made me keep going on with the relationship then was the fact that I felt, well, I'm in charge and know when to withdraw if it seems our discussion or emotions or kissing would lead to committing fornication or get out of control. This was nothing but lies. Papa Ita, as he was fondly called, helped me see why certain relationships were ungodly and helped me transition from that relationship to focusing more on God. Then I thought, well, it wouldn't be so bad if I end up with this guy. But then he wasn't so attractive to me. So I was still looking outside to find my spec, though the few I met, especially 2, didn't seem to provide the peace I had when I thought of or spoke with this Uncle Ita. Now I grew up addressing everyone older than me and respected uncle, so I used to call him Uncle Ita. Then I started asking God, okay, God, okay, please bring down my walls and mindset and work out your plans in my life. I began to consider spending my whole life with him. After all, he didn't have money or a house or a car or whatever. So what will he use to control me? Nothing. I actually did pray that whoever was going to marry me shouldn't have a car, shouldn't have money, and shouldn't have a house of his own. So, and when I prayed that prayer, my excuse was, God, I want someone that we can grow together, just start our family together. But that was not the truth. The truth was, man, you want to have a car, so that you tell me, what do you have? Or, I got you this, I got you that. No, don't have any. Let's have it together. So, I struggled much. So I struggle even when I guessed God was saying, this is your husband. I struggled so much till even my traditional marriage day. I kept questioning God, yet I was moving because I felt, well, what choice do I have? Now, my struggle was not because I wasn't sure of the fact that God had given me signs and pointers that he's my husband. Rather, I was certain about it because it didn't work as I thought or what I desire. I think I made a mistake there. But the point is that I wasn't struggling because I wasn't sure he's my husband, but rather I was struggling because it wasn't going the way I wanted it to be. He wasn't my spec. Things weren't just moving the way I wanted it to be. So I struggled a lot with it. Now, but I had learned to trust God even in my fears and wanting my will to be done. At least I will still ask, God, please let your will be done, even if I'm struggling with it. Like I kept praying that prayer at different intervals. Now I'm glad I'm married to the best man I know on earth. Everything I ever wanted in a man I found in him. I tell my people every now and then that my husband loves me more than I love him, and that's the truth. So I'm grateful to God from delivering me from hatred, and I don't hate the male folks anymore. Of course, if I did, I won't be stuck to one. So I thank God for that, delivering me from feminist mindset, and I'm also grateful to God for teaching me how to be accountable and how to be humble, especially to my husband. Now, I used to have the mindset of, fine, after when I made up my mind, okay, I was going to marry, I was going to fight my husband. Like, you won't tell me what to do, I was going to fight. So I thank God. I'm going to give details in another testimony where I titled that one, The Spirit of Jezebel and Rebellion. I'm going to share that when I have the chance to. So I thank God for delivering me from all that. And now I get to know when I get to know what God wants me to do, I'm looking forward to doing it. I still struggle though, but at least it's easier. And I've discovered that the few times I don't struggle, it becomes a lot more easier. And I'm blessed because of obeying. And I'm looking forward to spending time more with God. I still struggle here and there too, but it's just been an amazing experience throughout. I bless God for all this. May his name be praised.
Thanks for watching. For more stories of God's transforming power as well as all the life-changing content, do check out the links in the description. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, turn on your notification bell, and share. God bless you.